Hey everybody, Jimmy Smith here, doing the post-fight for Cowboy Cerrone versus Justin Gaethje. Now, the interesting thing about this, if you saw my pre-fight breakdown of this, I picked Justin Gaethje to win over Donald Cerrone. I only previewed the main event because I thought it deserved so much time. It's a very interesting fight, tactically and psychologically and all these things. So, great fight, early, but entertaining and vicious. Now, I was only able to get to the card a little bit late because of stuff I had to deal with. So I saw from Connolly versus Pereira on. And the Connolly fight, incredibly entertaining. Any fight with multiple backflips and all these amazing techniques and spins, and Pereira was just going crazy, and Connolly able to keep the pressure on with power punches and get the fight back and reassert himself. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Great stuff, incredibly entertaining on the feet and on the ground. A lot of risk-taking by both guys. And it's a great story because here Pereira didn't make weight, was over. Connolly took the fight short notice and gets a $100,000 bonus because you can't get the $50,000 if you didn't make weight. So fight of the night is usually 50 and 50, and he gets $100,000. That's pretty sweet. But incredibly entertaining fight. Not the most tactical fight in the world, but a lot of fun to watch. A lot of heart and aggression and just really entertaining. So Todd Duffee versus Jeff Hughes. Controversial fight. Now, the thing about Todd Duffee, for those of you that remember Fight Club and Marla, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he says Marla's philosophy was to live every day like it was her last, or that she could die at any moment. The tragedy was that she never did. That really pertains to fighting as well. If you fight like it's going to be a one-round fight, it better be a one-round fight. If you see round number 2 and you fought like it was only one rounder, you're in trouble. If you go in do or die in the first round, fighting like it's a 5-minute fight, and it's more than 5 minutes, you're in trouble. If you live every day like it's your last, it better be your last day. Because you wake up tomorrow with no money, difficult times ahead for you. So, for both the Pereira and the Duffee fights, that was what popped into my head. Duffee came out and threw good power punches. He was aggressive, but I thought he threw the kitchen sink at Jeff Hughes, hurt him several times, couldn't finish him, and I thought right when the eye poke happened, the tide was really starting to turn. Jeff Hughes didn't offer, he was firing back, hurt Duffee a couple times, never gave up physically or mentally, tough chin, showed a lot of grit and toughness and heart and all that fun stuff, but Todd Duffee was landing better power punches. But I got the feeling, and one of the reasons the end of this fight is kind of controversial is I got the feeling Duffee had spent all of his ammunition. I got the feeling Duffee had thrown everything he had. This guy's still in front of me. I'm exhausted. This is all I brought with me. And then I watch fights with the volume off. I turn it all the way down so I can study a little better. I'm not caught up in the commentary or anything like that. So I didn't hear what was said. I saw the video that was replayed and I didn't see an eye poke. So there was some swelling around his eye. You saw this little knob that he developed around his eye. But you can get that from a punch too. So the reason this is controversial, or a lot of people were complaining about it, is it seemed like Duffee, two things. First off, it seemed like Duffee wanted out right when he seemed to be kind of out of gas, and it seemed like he had thrown everything he had. Secondly, fighters know the code. I was a fighter, I was a coach, I was a commentator, I've seen it a million times. Fighters know the code. They know the things they have to say to keep a fight going. The doctor didn't come in and see anything. He asked him. And I think he said, I can't see. A fighter that wants to continue will just lie. They'll just lie. They'll just go, yeah, I'm fine. How you doing? Great. Can you see? Yes. The old trick in boxing is if you had a swollen eye, they'd cover up your good eye and they would hold up how many fingers? Well, if it's in the corner man taps you, the number of fingers there are. So the corner man will tap you 3 times and you say 3. Now, if your eye is that bad, the doctor won't ask you anything. They'll just say, all right, you're out. Done. They didn't do that. The eye didn't seem that bad. It wasn't closed up. It seemed okay. And he said, I can't see. So that is what leads to the controversy here. Now, I don't know what was wrong with Todd Duffee, or if he was poked, and if he was poked, how bad it was. I don't know. I'm not inside his head. But the reason that this ending has been controversial and people don't like it is, Todd Duffee could have said the right things to continue fighting. It didn't look that bad. When they came in to check it, I don't think the doctor expected to stop the fight. But if you say I can't see, that's it. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was very interesting. So what did I learn from Todd Duffee? There will always be room in the UFC or any promotion for a hard-hitting athletic heavyweight who's big. Always. So Todd Duffee had that, but the problem is that, you can throw a stick in most gyms and hit a big, hard-hitting athletic heavyweight. Yeah, he is. I didn't see anything that's going to separate him from the rest of the pack in this fight. And obviously, this is not his first UFC fight. I've seen him fight a few times. But he's had a lot of time off. Thought maybe he'd change his style around and come out with something new and different. And he didn't really. I mean, he didn't look bad. He was winning the fight up until the eye poke. But I didn't see anything that's going to separate him from the rest of the pack in the heavyweight division, where I'm like, wow, this guy could be the next big thing, or he could be a contender. I just don't see any of that. Now, do you have to be? No, you can still have a decent career just moving forward and knocking guys out. And same thing with Jeff Hughes. I didn't see anything that separates him from the rest of the fighters in his division. So Todd Duffee will fight again, probably pretty soon. But I didn't see anything exceptional out of him that makes me think, boy, he's the next big thing. When you look at the heavyweight division, nothing's less impressive to me than somebody walking in your gym, they're a heavyweight, and you go, oh, what are you great at? Oh, I hit hard. Well, yeah, all heavyweights hit hard. The exception is a heavyweight who doesn't hit hard. The exception that you want to look for is somebody who's exceptionally quick and throws great combinations, or is super rangy, or really versatile. Those are really rare at heavyweight. And Ngannou is one of the few guys who just hits super hard, and that's enough because he hits hard beyond everybody else. George Foreman, Mike Tyson, they hit harder than everybody else. Although Tyson, I think, was faster than everybody else, too. But he doesn't have Ngannou power, Todd Duffee. He doesn't have the combinations of Arlovsky in his prime. He doesn't have a tricky range like Junior Dos Santos. So he doesn't have anything where he doesn't have the versatility of Alistair Overeem, where I think boy, sky's the limit for this guy. I think he stays in the mid-range and gets some knockouts and gets knocked out, and we'll see how it goes. But that's what I got out of that fight. I don't see either guy as the next big thing in heavyweight, and the ending was a bit controversial and suspect. Glover Teixeira, Nikita Krylov. On my podcast with Ryan Mooney, our MMA show, if you ever check it out, Glover Teixeira, I described his jiu-jitsu style as old, in a good way. It's a pressure style, it's positional, it's on top, he goes for simple chokes, and he finishes you. And on the feet, he relies a lot on the left hook, really basic with the hands, no big gaps. He's certainly slowed down in the last few years, but his style is pretty basic. I.e., Glover's style ages well. He's not explosive or quick or tricky or any of those things that kind of slow down as you get older. He's got a pretty basic style on the feet and on the ground. He's good at them, both of those styles. And that ages well. And we saw that in the Krylov fight, where his gas didn't allow him to keep the pressure on for an entire round, but he was able to do it for most of certain rounds. So in the third round, for example, I thought he started out strong but finished weak. Well, he got enough of the rounds in order to get a split decision. So we saw the advantages where he still landed good left hooks. He's still good at controlling the space in the octagon. He's good at moving forward and making his opponent kind of circle on the outside. Krylov actually ran a couple times, like literally turned and ran. And I think that cost him a bit too, is that Glover was always taking the center, which is a veteran move, and Krylov was always playing the outside. So Glover Teixeira is always the aggressor. That helped him too. He's a crafty veteran. But we also saw that physically he can't keep the pressure on for as long as he used to. He used to be able to do it for 15 minutes, 25 minutes, long fights. He's just getting old and is not able to keep the pressure on all the time like he used to. So we're seeing the skills that are still very relevant, but we're also seeing his body slowing down a bit. Now, he got the win. I thought he deserved it, but Teixeira didn't show me anything that's going to launch him back into the top 5 title contention with all this young blood coming into 205. I don't think he's in that mix. I think he stays pretty much where he is, taking on guys from 8 to 15, kind of a gatekeeper, but he's still relevant. He can still beat guys at 205. He's not an easy out. He's not a big name. He can't defend himself. So it was great seeing him get the win. I like watching old guys get a victory when it comes to stuff like that. Justin Gaethje, Donald Cerrone. What happened with this one? If you saw my pre-fight breakdown, I thought Justin Gaethje would win. What Two things immediately jumped out at me in the beginning of this fight. Number one is Donald Cerrone used almost exclusively the jab. Almost exclusively the jab. And when he couldn't use it to really set up his power punches, I thought there was a problem. The jab all by itself isn't going to stop Justin Gaethje. You need to jab and move, and Cowboy didn't show really elusive footwork, or you jab to set up the power shot. He wasn't setting up power shots that effectively. I thought he was really wide with his power punches. That ended up costing him in the knockout. That's how he got knocked out. But he was using almost exclusively the jab. That was the only punch that he really seemed to have a lot of confidence in. And I thought Justin Gaethje initially was really effective with the leg kick. And I thought with Cowboy's style, he would be the better kicker. And Gaethje came out with better leg kicks, and Donald seemed less effective with his power shots. He was doing well with the jab, but that by itself is not going to frustrate Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje will walk through that. Two reasons. A, it's not hitting me that hard. I can go through it. It just snapped him a couple times. But if there's no right hand behind it, I can go through it. Also, when I go through it, you're right there. It's not like I'm going through the jab and he's angling, he's out. Cowboy was pretty much on line with his own punches. So Gaethje was able to weather that jab, essentially, and really hurt Cowboy a couple times. Hurt him with some hooks, hurt him on the inside, and then obviously finished him as Cowboy came in with a wide punch. So wide strikes, Gaethje was able to take advantage and got the knockout because he's incredibly heavy-handed. Was the stoppage late? Yes. I thought as soon as he went down and took one or two, it would be over. And it wasn't, I've seen worse late stoppages. It was the fact that the ref stepped in and then didn't stop it. So he looked hesitant anyway. So it almost amplifies the fact that it was a late stoppage. It was a bit late, but he steps in and doesn't know, and that back and forth, and Gaethje looks at him like, dude, you gonna stop this or what? It makes it look so much worse than it is. And yeah, it was late. I don't like to watch Cowboy take extra punches, especially his age with all he's been through. But it was a little bit late, but I think what added to it was the ref's physical hesitation. Now, I know that referee a little bit, talked to him at a few events. He generally does a good job, but he doesn't ref a bunch of big fights. And he might have been a little bit nervous. Main event, big names, a lot of eyes on him, so it made him a little hesitant with the stoppage. And so that combined, slightly late stoppage and physical hesitation, you never want to hesitate as a ref. Once you step in, it's over. It's over. Fight's over. To kind of step in, it's not a good thing. And Gaethje let him have it, as he should have. So, what's next? Cowboy Cerrone. I think this banishes him from the elite level. I don't see him fighting many more contenders. I don't see him fighting in any title eliminators these days. I think it's pretty much 7 to 15 in the rankings, fighting, maybe main event for a lot of fight nights and stuff like that. He'll always have entertaining fights. He'll always be ready to scrap. He'll always take on anyone, anytime. He'll always be Cowboy. But he's shown over and over again when it comes to those title eliminator situations, title fight, the one he had against Rafael dos Anjos, he got torn apart. We've seen him enough times in these situations to know how he's going to react. The hardest label to get rid of in sports, period, is choker. Peyton Manning had the label of choker until his last Super Bowl win. He won 2 rings. That got rid of a lot of it. But this guy was statistically would kick ass all the way, and then in the playoffs, something would always go wrong. And it's not always fair, but that label is hard to shed. And with Donald Cerrone, the problem is every time he's gotten right there where one fight could have gotten a title shot, or it was a title shot, or right then, something happened. And I didn't think he fought poorly in this fight. I didn't think it was the bad Cowboy Cerrone. I just think we've seen him enough times at that level. The UFC is not going to bank on him again, meaning once you've been in this position, this is across the board for any promotion. Once you've gotten to that level where you've had a couple of title shots and it didn't pan out, of course he's only gotten one, but a few title eliminators that haven't panned out, it's not worth keeping you at that level because you can still beat guys that are fresh blood that the fans want to see. We don't want you to beat a Ferguson on the way to a title shot. We don't want to see you beat a Justin Gaethje, a whomever is coming up. The Cowboy's still dangerous. So you don't necessarily want to give him the fights where he could head off a very popular title contender. Don't want to see that happen. So my guess is that the UFC keeps him, not necessarily in the gatekeeper role, because you don't want necessarily fight guys their first fight in the UFC, but that mid-level 7 to 15 in the rankings, I think that's where Cerrone goes from now. Is he content to stay there? Would he rather retire if if there isn't, a title fight, at least the possibility of it somewhere in his future? I don't know. I don't know. That's up to him. But as a real fan of Cowboy, do I want to see him fight again? Yeah. But, we'll see. We didn't see that huge dip and slide in his skills. He can still beat some dangerous guys. I don't want to see him hang on too long. We'll see how that goes. Justin Gaethje. There are essentially two options. The winner of Khabib Ferguson or Conor McGregor. Really. Would you wait until you get the winner of Ferguson versus Khabib? I personally would not. If I were his representation, I would say, look, my guy's better when he fights. This fight, Ferguson versus Khabib, we don't have a date for it. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know if it's going to happen. Let's say it's, at earliest, it's end of this year, early next year. Then what? What if it's fight of the century and everybody wants a rematch? Okay, then they rematch. Then there's a rubber match. And, you never know how it's going to go. So, if you're his management, you want him to sit on the shelf until these guys fight? And then maybe they fight again, then maybe they have a rematch? Who knows? Putting my guy on the shelf that long isn't good. Conor has a lot of advantages. Number one, huge money fight because it's Conor McGregor. B, it's a winnable fight for both guys. C, it keeps him in the title hunt. So the winner of Conor versus Gaethje is right there next in line. They'll make a ton of money, and it's a winnable fight that the fans can't wait to see, or I personally can't wait to see for sure. So I think that's better than having him wait until Khabib and Ferguson fight. I think it makes more sense for him to fight Conor McGregor. Now, according to Errol Hawani, they were trying to set this fight up, then Conor broke his hand. And so at least both sides like the fight and have agreed to it previously. So it gives me hope that they would agree to it now. The thing about Conor McGregor is you want to keep him away from Khabib because Khabib is just stylistically, I think, a horrible matchup for him. So who can he fight in the meantime that's beatable? I think any fighter at 45, 55, even some guys at 70 who are strikers, Conor does well. I think Khabib is just the one wrestler, maybe Gregor Gillespie, obviously, who just gives him a lot of trouble stylistically. He's not going to stand and trade. He's going to take you down and maul you. A rematch with Poirier, maybe, but the problem is that Poirier's coming off a loss, and Conor probably doesn't want that, and does a win against Poirier vault him right back into contention? The people who don't think it does will say, well, he just came off a loss. A fight against Gaethje, should he win that, if you're a Conor hater, an absolute Conor hater, a win over Justin Gaethje, especially a knockout or a decisive win, yeah, it puts him back amongst the elite. He, next in line, sure, I could see that. Right now, no way. He lost to Khabib, hasn't fought since then. I don't believe it would be competitive. Why am I going to spend $70 on that? If he blows away Justin Gaethje, I don't think that makes a rematch with Khabib any more competitive, because I think Khabib style-wise is just a nightmare for Conor. But it's hard to deny he's earned it if he can beat Gaethje. So it works all the way around for a lot of reasons. And can Gaethje win that fight? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think in any striking battle, Gaethje's got a good shot. So does Conor. And if he's able to put on Conor what he's put on other guys, man, that would really be something special. But I think that makes more sense than waiting around for another year, who knows, for Khabib Ferguson. And Ferguson's had a lot of personal problems. We'll see how that works out. This fight seems to be cursed. Who knows what will happen? So I wouldn't bank on it. Oh, it's not going to happen. They're going to throw in Gaethje. I wouldn't bank on that. And I wouldn't bank on Khabib versus Ferguson as a one-time fight. It might be an amazing fight, and everybody's clamoring for a rematch. So if I'm his people, I try and set up that Conor fight. And Conor doesn't have a dance partner. And I think he's starting to realize he really needs one. So that would be my suggestion, is Gaethje versus Conor. I think that makes more sense. But always let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Really appreciate you guys listening. And I'll be back before the next fight. Later.